Come Drink With Me is a 1966 Hong Kong wuxia film uh, directed by King Hui, set during the Ming Dynasty. It stars Cheng, Pei-pei, and Yueh as warriors, and it features choreography by Han Ying-chieh. It's widely considered one of the best Hong Kong films ever made, and it won a couple awards and things like that. And like I said, it came out in 1966. Wow. What to say about this film? Now, it's highly regarded by some as like a really great Hong Kong film, but for me, it was just really boring and very below average, I guess, especially compared to some of the other films I've seen. Now, I'm not sure if that's something to do with the decade it was created in, since it was from the 60s, but there was just something off with it, I guess, that I couldn't really follow too well, and it didn't really hold much enjoyment and my attention for very long. But I'll briefly go over the plot with you to see why. Basically, the plot involves a general's son that was taken hostage, and his daughter, Golden Swallow, which is the main character of the film, is sent to rescue him when a bandit gang encounters her, especially at a local inn, and they fight a little bit, as well as we meet one of the best characters in the film, and probably what kind of holds the film, or at least holds my attention whenever I see him. It's this drunk beggar type guy who kind of acts as like a guardian angel towards her and kind of helps her a little bit in the background. And he kind of appears and disappears, and he just acts like a drunk. And there's even some singing in the film, which kind of throws it for a loop. Oh yeah, his name's Drunken Cat. That's right. And he basically helps her a little bit. Then you learn about an evil Buddhist monk, an abbot, who's kind of like the main villain of the film. And it kind of just involves her going after the bandits, trying to rescue the son, fighting the evil abbot, and who's also a kung fu master, and you find that out later at the end. And she uses twin daggers for most of the time, but basically she confronts him a few times, and then the ending of the film involves a bunch of female warriors, including her, and they fight a bunch of the bandits in a huge showdown, and then they fight the evil abbot at the end against the drunk beggar, who's kind of like, they're both trained by the same person or something from the same school, so they're kind of like at equal skill levels and things. And but overall, it was kind of boring, I guess, in my opinion. But I think that has to do with the decade. I'm not really sure, because it's another very similar movie to other films, but I'll get to the scoring here. So the story, I rated it a 2 out of 10. And the reason is just, it's really boring. It's slow paced. It wasn't that it was hard to follow. It was just that I didn't really care that much. Like, I thought it was cool at first because, the girl shows up. She's mysterious. She's at an inn. These bandits harass her. There's going to be like an epic fight or something. And it breaks out and you get to kind of see some of that. But just everything is just slow about it. Like, the fighting is slow. The acting is slow. The plot speed is kind of slow. And so I rated like pretty low, actually. And I don't know if it's too low or not, but it was a 2 out of 10. The music, probably average. I give it a 5 out of 10. It didn't really hold me too well. It did its job. It's kind of serviceable. Some of it had some highlights. Some of it was just kind of there as background noise. So I kind of just gave it an average score. The effects, 6 out of 10. Kind of the similar as the past movies that I've seen. I think it has to do with the decade that it was created, and once we get into like more the 90s and 2000s and more modern related kung fu movies, you'll be able to see like much of a difference. So I think that really has to do with the decade it was actually filmed in. But it's very cheesy. All the blood, the weapon work, just the acting, I guess, for it, it was just not up to par, I guess. So I rated it just a 6. The effects were 2 out of 10. I don't know why I said 6 out of 10. I'm so sorry. It was a 2 out of 10. They were just awful. It was just so bland. Like, just, you could tell everything was super fake. The deaths, the fighting, I don't know what to say about that. And that leads me to the final category of fighting, which was a 3 out of 10. And this is what saddened me the most was I was expecting, oh, a female star role. We get to see some sweet fighting. She gets to take out all these guys, this huge bandit group. But the only most memorable part is either when the drunken beggar shows up, drunken cat, or during the final fight leading up to it when a bunch of the female warriors show up along with her and she's kind of fighting the entire gang of like 100 bandits or something until she gets to the abbot or whatever at the end. That's probably the best part of the film, but everything else was just so drawn out. Like the fights were just so slow, things were moving at a snail's pace, the fighting was slow, the action was slow. It was just not very good in my opinion. So my overall score, I'm sad to say, is a 3 out of 10. It's fairly low. I'm not sure if I just didn't get the film, maybe it was a generational thing, but most people liked the film and thought it was like really good. So I was like, oh, this film, should be pretty good. And I watched it and I was just amazed at how boring and slow it was. Like I just couldn't really get into it. The fighting was just very average or below. The effects were just terrible. The singing in it, while interesting, I don't think it really added anything. And the best character wasn't even the main guy. It was the drunken cat character. So I wouldn't recommend people actually watch the film. You probably won't get anything out of it. There's no good weapon work. The characters are just kind of bland and not very good. The evil abbot, I guess, might be pretty cool, as well as drunken cat, but I wouldn't sit through the whole film just for those parts. You could probably like find the clips on YouTube or something like that. So I wouldn't recommend it. And my final score again was a 3 out of 10, which is sad because I wanted to like the film. I just couldn't get into it. It just wasn't holding my attention. And yeah, I would skip it. Sorry.